Hey guys, Sean here for Prosperbyproperty, and I'm alongside my business partners Mike and Mark. And what we thought we'll discuss today is we've actually just been flicking through property news or property development news, and one of the articles that we've seen from Financial Times was warning over property peer-to-peer lending defaults. So peer-to-peer lending is a hot topic at the moment, and what peer-to-peer lending is, it's the idea of a number of investors coming together, investing small amounts of money to make a large sum, and then that large sum will then be invested into towards a property developer or towards some type of property investment. Now, there's a lot of pros and cons to peer-to-peer lending, and what we thought we'd do in today's topic is talk a little bit about peer-to-peer lending and our thoughts, and also some of the topics within this Financial Times article that we've seen today. So, what do you guys think, first of all, of peer-to-peer lending? Do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing?
I believe it's a good thing. It's something that we've used ourselves. I think it's all in terms of how it differentiates compared to traditional lending. So for us, it's maybe a little bit more flexible. Maybe a little quicker when we're trying to raise those amounts as well. So for us, it's worked well as developers. I'm also someone who has invested on the other side and put money into peer-to-peer lending, and we'll come on to that maybe later about whether that's right for you to do or not. That's a personal choice. So for me, I'm fully supportive of peer-to-peer lending.
Yeah, I think it's becoming more of a trend. I think it's now taken over sort of the traditional bank lending, which was difficult to do anyway. You needed a lot more experience. So I think for people who are climbing the ladder and going from sort of doing property refurbishments of HMOs and coming into, even if it's on a smaller scale, from sort of residential to commercial, or commercial to residential sort of schemes, I think this is a great they are great platforms for those type of people to come into with very small experience. They allow for that.
Yeah.
But it's taken away. I think it's growing fast, and you can see more and more new formed peer-to-peer platforms coming in. So
one of the pros compared to traditional lending or peer-to-peer lending is almost put this in the right way, it's almost the lack of due diligence that often the peer-to-peer lending platform do towards the developer allows often developers or property investors who may have necessarily not had that experience before to get in and get that experience, because obviously with traditional lending they have often strict criteria, which is often hard to tick the box, and that's one of the major benefits of peer-to-peer lending.
Yeah, true. But that's not to say it's only inexperienced developers who use peer-to-peer lending. We know a number of experienced lenders now who have reached out to peer-to-peer lending as an alternative, and I think again they're seeing that flexibility as a
speed in it,
a plus point. No, I suppose one of the biggest cons to peer-to-peer lending, it tends to be much more expensive in terms of an interest rate. However, as a developer, that's for you to factor that cost into your development ultimately, and just see it as a business cost. That's the way we do it, and it's the cost of doing business. But it does tend to be more expensive.
So what you've got to do as a developer is outweigh between flexibility of maybe getting it quickly compared to paying a little bit more on interest when it comes to peer-to-peer lending. Okay, we'll just pull them back into this article on the Financial Times. What this article is saying, it's talking about a property developer who's recently taken a peer-to-peer lending platform to court because that peer-to-peer lending platform did not release the funds on their development when they should have. So I believe we actually know this development now. I won't tell people where it is, but this development is 3/4 of the way built, and on the last quarter, the peer-to-peer lending platform decided they weren't going to release the rest of the funds to get it complete. Now, what the developer is saying is they did not get notified by this peer-to-peer lender that they were not going to release the funds. So I believe there's going to be a big, long legal battle between the two of them. But obviously, there's two sides of the fence here. Obviously, developers are looking upon and going, hang on a minute, if can all peer-to-peer lending platforms do that? Because if they can, it's scary. It's a scary thought that they can pull the plug at any moment and maybe not release the funds that you need to finish your development.
If I can just pick up on that point, it might not necessarily be a choice for the peer-to-peer, because obviously what they rely on is that money actually being raised before they release the funds as well from thousands of investors. So if they're not raising that quickly enough, maybe they just do not have the ability to lend.
Stop you in flow before, that was one of the things I was going to say before. There's got to be a pinch mark where peer-to-peer platforms actually work really well, and an amount of money that where maybe you're stepping over the mark of what they can what they can raise on the platform quick enough.
Yes. Well,
Size of fund.
I actually read somewhere recently that they're currently raising the biggest amount in the UK through peer-to-peer, and I believe that's in the region of about 13 million for that one development that they're looking to raise.
There's a lot of money in it.
So that's the type of level we're getting to at this moment in time with peer-to-peer.
The other thing to bear in mind as well, I suppose, peer-to-peer platforms aren't necessarily regulated. They are monitored though. And one of the things they've got to be able to do, which we're aware of, is, I think I'm happy to say what you said though, that they do have to raise that money. They can't release the money and then raise it. It's got to be raised before they can release it.
Yeah.
And there's no definite time of when they can do that, where maybe a traditional bank, once they say they're going to do it, it's released within so many hours.
They've got the money in the bank waiting on you to put it in when you need to. Okay, and another thought is obviously if they're using other people's money rather than their own. So a peer-to-peer lending platform is the middle person between them and the developer. So if that middle person is using someone else's money, is there a question that they are maybe doing they're a little bit more risky in what they're going to put that money in?
Than traditional banks, yes. I think that is certainly reflected in the interest rates they pay out. As an investor, they will tend to pay out in the region between maybe 10 to 12% return on the money that we put into the peer-to-peer lending platform. I think, like all investments, you have to do your own due diligence, and maybe, I wouldn't be, when I put my own money in, I certainly make sure that I'm looking at that particular development myself, making my own call, making my own judgment on the risk factor, I suppose. So what sits along the value is the value representative of the area. Look at the valuation. Sometimes just because it's written by a valuer doesn't necessarily mean that's what it's going to sell for on the market, and I do think it's up to you to do your own due diligence on that. And maybe that's not stated enough on these platforms, I don't know.
Well, it's something we've actually noticed a few times, isn't it? Is on these platforms, they often share what the valuation of that project is, and when we've looked at it and done our own due diligence, we often believe that overinflated. So
in some cases they can't.
Not all the time, but there is certain occasions we've looked at certain investments and certain developments and gone, hang on a minute, I mean, this does seem a little bit high. It does seem a little bit high.
I mean, if you're using like development finance, a lot of development finance, they sort of stick to a certain area, don't they? And they know that area. So if you're going for development finance, for example, bridging finance, should I say, for example, there's people that will work I don't know, they'll lend in the Wirral, but they won't come over to Liverpool because they know their area.
Yeah.
I'm giving that as an example. Or Manchester don't come into Liverpool. Or
Yeah, so what you're saying is these traditional lenders like Bridging and the banks,
they know the marketplace.
They know the marketplace,
Yeah.
so they know what that end value is likely to be anyway, because they've seen it a million times before maybe.
Yeah.
Whereas with peer-to-peer lending, it's obviously often widespread. It's often
It can be,
could be the whole of the UK, and obviously a property in Highlands of Scotland is not the same as a property in London.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
they are depending on it.
I think ultimately it is a great idea and it's a great tool. I think any wise investor should be seeing that anything at those rates, 10-12% return, there is an element of risk. They do have valuations on a form valuation, but as you say, you've got to look at that. Just that.
Yeah, I mean we're going into another topic
yeah.
here, aren't we? Almost because something we believe is we're going into valuation, like rich valuers, and something we've seen in the past is they're not always right, and that's both ways. Sometimes they down value and sometimes they up value. I mean we've had it before where we've looked at a property, strongly believed it was worth about 270, wasn't it? And the rich value was coming in, but hang on a minute, it's not worth 270, this is only worth 200. And then, lo and behold, the property went and sold at auction for 290 a few weeks later. So it just goes to show that just because they've got that rich badge doesn't always mean it's a hard one. It doesn't always mean their valuation is necessarily spot on, and that's where with your own experience, with your own due diligence, it's so important that you do that. And take your own belief when you're going to, if you are going to put money into these peer-to-peer lending platforms, make sure you do your own research.
And of course, as a developer, do your own research. Maybe a good question is, what have they lent previously? What's been their higher level of lending? If something is above that level, then you, as a developer, even if they are offering their services to you, you have to sort of say, well, what's my risk? Are they going to be able to pay out every tranche when we need it?
Yeah.
Is there the risk that I ask for my next tranche of money and they can't raise it in time? Is that a risk? It probably is a risk, but obviously you've got to judge the level at which
you've got to do a risk assessment, haven't you, at the beginning?
Ultimately, it's your project and it's your head that rolls if things go wrong. Sadly, that's the way it is, isn't it? And that's why it's important to really knuckle down on the ins and outs and weigh things up. Just because someone offers you lending, maybe it's your first project, you're over the moon. Yes, we've got lending, something that may have seemed like the biggest hurdle. Don't be too keen just to take the first offer, because it's you've got to go the other way as well. They are almost a client of yours in a way as well.
Just like the same checks you would do on a builder to make sure they're good, you need to make sure you do checks on a lender to make sure they can deliver their product on what they say they're going to do. Yeah. And if they can't, make sure you have a backup as well. Because I think in this game, I don't know, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I do think in this game, if you've been through a lot of deals and a lot of developments, at some point you will have lending pull in the last second.
Yeah.
Just see everyone I speak to, we've had it happen to us. Just everyone I speak to, every developer, it just seems to have happened to them. And almost
there's a hold up or something's not. Just not running smoothly. Yeah, they just pulled it. You just pull the rug from underneath you for no particular reason. Sometimes it's not a case of them pulling, as you say, pulling it. They just hold up and put you in a position where 3 months has passed and you're going, what's going on? You know, and you've got to move, so you have to make that choice then. Yeah. To move to something else.
Yeah, exactly.
And on that note, don't be scared to go to more than one lender, despite what your broker tells you. They would caution against it in case your lender sees it more than once, and they don't like to see that. But I think there's a sensible way to do that as well. Yeah. You know, ask what lenders are your broker going to. If they're withholding that information, well, a question what their role is, because if it's simply they know a lender and they just fire out a template to them, I don't think that is enough from your broker. They need to have a relationship where they understand exactly what is required. They can pretty much give you an answer very early on in the stage. That is something else you will probably come up against as a developer. You will go through all the stages. You get to the last minute, but you've also paid money to get to those stages. So, but again, that's maybe another topic.
Well, just coming back to peer-to-peer lending, it's something I wrote an article on actually. It's probably over 2 years ago now, about 24 months ago. And what I said in that article was, peer-to-peer lending has been a hot topic over the last few years, and I strongly believed at the time that they were very unregulated, and what will happen is over the next few years they will become regulated. And there's two reasons why I thought that. I thought it because, look, your traditional establishments are going to be looking upon these and going, hang on a minute, these are going to be taking our business. So there's an element of them wanting to get an element of control back. But then there's also the government side of it, where they're going to want to protect these small investors who don't necessarily know how to do their research. Like you've got the FCA, who are going to look upon it and say, hang on a minute, we need to protect these people who aren't necessarily professional investors. So that's something I stated about two years ago, and it's something actually in this article, which we mentioned today, is becoming more and more apparent that the likes of the FCA are starting to get a good grip hold of these peer-to-peer lending platforms for that particular reason. And I think it's going to happen more. And in the future, what do you think? What do you think will happen, Mark? Do you think?
Unfortunately, we can't tell the future. It would be good to hear your thoughts on this. If regulation becomes to the point where you're dragging the peer-to-peer lending platforms closer and closer to traditional lenders, then their competitive edge is no longer there. If they are controlling who and who cannot put money in, then does that start to lower the interest rates for investors as an investor in what they get? If they're lowering interest rates, then how are they going to be competitive compared to a traditional ISA, for example? So
that's from the investor. If you're putting
from an investor point of view, as a developer, again, if there is more control from the FCA, for example, then they become less and less flexible. If they become less and less flexible, again, then as a developer, you're starting to think, well, that flexibility is gone, and that was their competitive edge. I'll choose to go to the mainstream again. It's an interesting time, really.
It could potentially just slow the market, couldn't it, in peer-to-peer lending, because at the moment, if they're not as regulated, so therefore there's the criteria of them setting up their platform and what they need to do, and they'll then have to pay fees to be regulated. There'll be big fees that they'll end up paying, and some platforms will just go, I'm not doing it anymore, it's not worth it.
I do believe they are regulated to a certain degree, just not as much. It's not a case of where we can just put something up now and say, we're going to crowdfund this. They are regulated to a certain degree. It's just that degree of regulation differs significantly at the moment. Interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah, and I actually believe with peer-to-peer lending as well is it's just an interesting thought I'm going to have, so don't shoot the messenger. But if this market does go a little bit hot, we're coming up towards a 10-year cycle, and you probably hear a few people saying, come towards the end of the cycle, property's going to drop, blah blah blah. Look, no one knows what's going to happen. People predict it. Doesn't mean they're going to be right. They're just guesses. But I do believe that if that should happen, what I think we'll see is more peer-to-peer lending platforms propping that marketplace up, because obviously technology is improving. More and more people are starting to obviously invest through the internet are starting to use likes of Bitcoin, you know, all these cryptocurrencies as well coming into place. That alongside peer-to-peer lending, plus the fact that now mainstream lenders aren't going to lend, maybe because there is a little bit of a crash and they pull the plug, then will we see peer-to-peer lending platforms come in and propping that marketplace up?
Possibly.
I think we could do. And
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting because obviously, should there be a little bit of a crash in the UK, a lot of foreign investors are looking upon that and saying, hang on a minute, we can get cheap deals, and that platform could allow these foreign investors to come in and buy into UK property
Yeah.
through those type of platforms.
Yeah, well, it's actually a very good point. It is a way of putting a small amount of money into property.
Yeah.
I believe some of these peer-to-peer lenders, I think the minimum is like £25 or something. So, isn't that a great entry point? I mean, normally people talking thousands and thousands as an entry, but if you can actually start investing in property for as little as £25, and through that you start to learn values and how things work. That's certainly a benefit as an investor as well. Really.
I mean, just not to spin it on its head too much, but just to give an appetite of where the marketplace is at the moment with your peer-to-peer, you've got bridging finance with traditional banks. There's more. The traditional banks now are starting to look at development finance. I'm not saying that they're starting to look. So I've spoken to a few, sort of just your normal high street banks, should I say, and they're now having an appetite for development finance. Their loan to value is really low, so at the moment they need to get that right.
Yeah.
But if you did get it right, it's coming, but it's more for the experienced investors, unfortunately. So I think they're showing an appetite in the marketplace of where they want to be, and that's showing growth. I think they'll be really. You've got to have experience to work with them, so maybe they can still maybe prop an element of marketplace for people who have got a lot of experience, and that's where the niche and the strength of the peer-to-peer platforms maybe will work really well. And even though that interest rate is high, they will be more flexible to wanting to work with developers that maybe don't have as much experience.
Yeah, so almost what you're saying.
Like you're saying, they will prop them.
Yeah, what you're saying there, Mike, is